Welcome back for another deep dive. We're going to be kind of tackling a very, very interesting topic. And this one, I think, is particularly interesting because of the source material.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at Authortube.
Okay.
And looking at specifically, what does it really mean to be a rebel writer?
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
And what's the source material we have today?
So the source material for this is a rant by a booktuber. This booktuber goes by the name The Unwanted Book Club.
Okay.
And this rant was sparked by kind of their observations of trends they're seeing in Authortube.
Okay, so like a hot take.
Yeah, kind of a hot take, yeah. And what's interesting is that they're actually in the middle of doing a series where they're exploring these trends on Authortube. And this rant is kind of like a tangent that got sparked by this.
I see.
Yeah.
So they're like analyzing the trends and the advice given by successful authors to aspiring writers.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. So they're taking books and they're looking at videos and they're really dissecting and scrutinizing the impact of this advice on the community.
Got it.
So yeah, this rebel writer rant is just kind of this passionate side note, something that, came bubbling up as they were, doing all this research.
Yeah, it's interesting. So many creators, they'll go off on these tangents, and it really brings a lot of interesting stuff up to the surface.
For sure.
So what exactly sparked this rant? What were they seeing that led to this outburst?
So it seems like they've been noticing this trend of Authortubers branding themselves as rule breakers or rebels, particularly when it comes to, navigating traditional publishing.
Right. Which makes sense because there's this whole idea that, self-publishing is this kind of revolution where you break free from the shackles of traditional publishing houses and you make your own way.
Yeah, forge your own path. Right.
Exactly. But the irony, and I think where the rant gets going, is that these self-proclaimed rebels then end up promoting their own set of rules for success, especially on platforms like YouTube.
Right. So it's like, on the one hand, they're rejecting the rules of traditional publishing, but then on the other hand, they're kind of establishing a new set of rules for navigating this online world.
Yeah, exactly. And so the booktuber is kind of grappling with that and questioning, well, what are the motivations behind this rebel writer label? Is this truly about artistic freedom, or is there something else going on here?
Right. Maybe something a little deeper.
Yeah, exactly. And they suggest that, for some writers, this rebel label could be a way of coping with rejection, particularly rejection from traditional avenues. Like maybe it's a defense mechanism, a way of masking deeper feelings of self-doubt.
Oh, interesting. So like instead of acknowledging, the sting of rejection, they're kind of flipping the script and declaring themselves rebels, right?
Right. Choosing to be outside the system instead of feeling like they've been excluded from it.
Yeah.
And it's a really fascinating psychological insight.
It is, yeah.
And it makes you think how much of what we see online is about that,
Yeah.
projecting this image rather than really expressing genuine feelings.
Totally. Yeah. It's almost like this booktuber is kind of peeling back the layers and revealing the complexities behind, the surface.
Right.
And challenging us to kind of look beyond these carefully crafted online personas.
Right. And that leads them to this bigger question about the self-publishing revolution itself.
Okay.
Has it actually led to greater artistic freedom and genuine rebellion? Or has it just, shifted the power dynamics to a more capitalistic consumerist model?
Right. So instead of rebelling against like the gatekeepers of traditional publishing, are we just kind of creating new gatekeepers in the self-publishing world, new rules to follow, new expectations to meet?
Yeah, that's really the question that seems to be fueling this rant. And I think it's, maybe you're grappling with this too as you try to make your way in the world of writing and content creation.
It's like we're just kind of trading one set of constraints for another, one set of rules for another, one set of expectations for another. So where does true rebellion lie?
Well, and that's what we're going to kind of try to unpack as we dive deeper into this rant.
Okay.
They have some really insightful and sometimes provocative thoughts on what it means to be a true rebel in the creative world.
I'm ready. What do they propose as an alternative?
Well, they make a really compelling case that true artistic rebellion, it isn't about following or rejecting any specific set of rules. It's about something much more profound.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, they argue that true rebellion lies in pushing creative boundaries, exploring uncomfortable themes, and challenging conventional expectations, even if it means risking audience approval.
Okay, so it's about being willing to make people uncomfortable, to shake things up, to challenge the status quo, even if it means, losing followers or facing criticism.
Exactly. It's about having the courage to express yourself authentically without being constrained by the need to please everyone or fit into a neat little box.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. True rebels aren't necessarily, concerned with fitting in or playing it safe. They're driven by a deeper need to create something meaningful, something that challenges norms and pushes boundaries.
Right, and this is where the booktubers' critique of the Authortube ecosystem itself comes in. They're concerned that this increasing emphasis on branding, perfectionism, and marketing is actually stifling this kind of genuine creativity and authentic connection.
So it's becoming less about the art and more about the hustle, less about genuine expression and more about, building a personal brand.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
The booktuber seems to be worried that Authortube is becoming more about creating a product and less about exploring artistic expression.
Yeah, it's like the pressure to succeed, to build a following, to create a marketable brand is overshadowing the pure joy of creating something new and different.
That's a really good way to put it. And I think this tension is something that a lot of creators, not just on Authortube, but across all platforms, are grappling with.
Yeah, it's this balancing act between expressing yourself authentically and also trying to find an audience to build a community to make your work sustainable.
Absolutely. And the booktuber seems to be suggesting that this focus on branding and self-promotion can sometimes come at the expense of artistic integrity.
Yeah, it's like everyone's trying to fit into this mold of what a successful content creator should be, and in the process they're losing their unique voice, their individuality.
Right. And this leads to another interesting point that the booktuber raises. They suggest that this rebel writer persona can actually become a trap for creators.
A trap? How so?
Well, if a writer builds their entire brand around being a rebel, they might become afraid to evolve or experiment as they grow for fear of alienating their existing audience.
Oh, so they're stuck in this box they've created for themselves, afraid to step outside of it, even if it means stifling their creative growth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They become a prisoner of their own image, which in a way defeats the whole purpose of being a rebel in the first place.
Right. It's like they're saying, don't be afraid to shed the rebel writer skin if it no longer fits. Don't let a label define you or limit your creative potential.
I think that's a really important message, especially for anyone who's trying to find their voice in the online world. Don't be afraid to experiment, to evolve, to change.
And don't be afraid to challenge the expectations of your audience. True fans will appreciate your growth and evolution, even if it takes you in unexpected directions.
Absolutely. And this is where the booktubers' call to action comes in. They're not just critiquing the status quo, they're offering a path forward, both for creators and consumers.
Okay, I love a good call to action. What do they propose? How do we break free from these traps and foster a more authentic and creatively vibrant online community?
They urge creators to embrace change, to break out of their comfort zones, and to allow themselves to grow and evolve, even if it means, risking the loss of some followers along the way.
So it's about prioritizing artistic integrity and personal growth over maintaining a certain image or pleasing everyone.
Exactly. And they also challenge viewers, those consuming content online, to be more open-minded and supportive of creators who are taking risks and trying new things.
It's about creating a space where experimentation and evolution are encouraged and celebrated rather than punished or dismissed.
Right. It's about fostering a culture of curiosity and open-mindedness where creators feel safe to explore new ideas and express themselves authentically without fear of judgment or backlash.
Yeah, it sounds like this booktuber is really advocating for a more nuanced understanding of what it means to be a rebel in the digital age. It's not just about rejecting traditional publishing or adopting a certain online persona. It's about something much deeper, something more aligned with personal values and creative vision.
I think that's a great way to summarize it. It's about defining rebellion on your own term, not letting external pressures or expectations dictate your creative path.
And maybe it's also about recognizing that true rebellion often involves being vulnerable, being willing to put yourself out there, even if it means, making mistakes or facing criticism.
Absolutely. It's about having the courage to be imperfect, to embrace the messiness of the creative process and to trust that your authentic voice will resonate with the right people.
So for you, the listener, as you navigate the world of writing and content creation, maybe this deep dive serves as a reminder to stay true to your own unique voice and vision.
Don't be afraid to experiment, to evolve, to challenge the status quo, even if it means risking disapproval or losing followers along the way.
Because ultimately, the most rebellious act of all might be simply being yourself, expressing your truth and creating something that is meaningful to you, regardless of what anyone else thinks.
And that brings us to a question that we hope you'll ponder as we wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah.
If the rules are constantly shifting, what does it even mean to be truly rebellious in any creative field, whether it's writing art, music, or anything else?
Perhaps it's not about rejecting all rules,
Yeah.
but about consciously choosing which rules to follow, which to break, and which to create for yourself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.